Andy doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I want to introduce him. Andy and Sally Langford have been friends of mine for more years than either one of us want to count. Serving here at Central is not the first time that I've served a church that Andy and or Sally had served previously to me coming. They served St. Stephen United Methodist Church before coming here. And I was honored to serve that church as well as now being at Central. Andy served as the senior pastor here, the lead pastor here at Central from 2003 to 2018. And so a lot of what he's going to talk about today, he was here to offer servant leadership with others to help make it happen. And so Andy knows whereof he speaks today as he shares with us. He and Sally have served with distinction in our annual conference. Sally as a superintendent among other appointments, and Andy other appointments as well, like the one I mentioned at St. Stephen in Charlotte. I count them as friends. They've been friends to the annual conference, to countless other pastors, mentoring, befriending, and serving in our annual conference here in Western North Carolina. And I'm just grateful to have you here today, Andy, and we welcome you gladly.
Thank you. I forgot my Bible. It's a real honor to be here today. There are people here, and I know stories about many of you. It was in this place we did a number of baptisms. We celebrated communion. We celebrated the death of great saints in this congregation. And I'm simply blessed to be back in this space to talk to you today. One of the major things I got to do in this place was listen to your stories. And so during my time here, I collected your stories. I wrote a lot of them down for you. And so what you're going to hear today is not what I have done and I know, but what you have said to me that I want to share back with you. Today we're going to focus just on this space. I think the first Sunday in March, I'm going to do a Sunday school class and we'll talk about all the rest of these facilities. But today we're going to focus here. The first scripture comes from the book of Genesis. Abraham had left his land of Ur, had traveled to a land God promised would be filled with milk and honey. There's Abraham, there's his son Isaac, and then the son Jacob. Jacob had been gone from his home for many years, and he came back. And this is a story. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When Jacob reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven. And the angels of God were ascending and descending on the ladder. There above the ladder stood the Lord. And the Lord said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All the peoples of earth will be blessed through you and their offspring. I am with you, and I, the Lord, will watch over you wherever you go. And I'll bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I've done what I promised you. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. Jacob was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." A 1,000 years later, King Solomon decided to build a temple to God in Jerusalem. His father David wanted to do it. He did not accomplish that. So Solomon built a temple, and this is what Solomon said on the day of its dedication. Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in front of the whole assembly of Israel, spread out his hands towards heaven and said, "Lord God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above or on the earth below. You who keep your covenant of love with your servants, who continue wholeheartedly in your way. You have kept your promise to your servant David, my father. As you have promised, and with your hand you have fulfilled it today." But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built? Yet give attention to your servant's prayer and his plea for mercy. Hear the cry and the prayer that your servant is praying in your presence. May your eyes be open towards this temple day and night, this place of which you said, "My name shall be here," so that you will hear the present your servant prays towards this place. Hear the supplication of your servant and of your people Israel when they pray in this place. Hear from heaven your dwelling place, and when you hear, forgive. This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Thank you all for coming up. We're going to show you some things in this place and kind of take a tour of this space, okay? 50 years ago, a major scholar of worship wrote something that's true. He said, the place in which we worship, the space in which we worship, is as important as the words we say and the actions we take. The place, the space in which we worship shapes how we understand God and our relationship with God. And that's absolutely true. So today, you are standing on in a holy place, in a holy space. And so I invite y'all, when Moses saw God on Mount Sinai, God said, "Take off your shoes, for you are standing on holy ground." So I'm taking off my shoes. You can take off your shoes if you want. You can take off your shoes if you want. You're standing on holy ground. And hopefully we'll help you get your shoes back at the end. We have been worshiping on this piece of land for almost 150 years. Once upon a time, the First Methodist Church as community was 2 blocks down here across from Waterbury. But in 1860, right before the Civil War, the Methodists decided they wanted to worship on Union Street. There was no church on Union Street. And they bought this piece of land. And they built a small sanctuary, rectangular, out of wood, that seated about 125 people. They made a few revisions. If you see this picture, this is what the church looked like 120 years ago. There is a church building, which was the original building. They put a bell tower. We don't know what happened to the bell. They put a small parlor over to the side, and the pastor lived next door in the parsonage. That's how they worshiped for 70 years. And then they said, we need to tear all of that down. It had been there for 120 years. What were they thinking? And people said, it was a pretty easy decision. There was no air conditioning. There were no bathrooms. When you went up to the balcony, you could see it sway. Maybe it had reached the end of its functional life. And so they decided to tear down the sanctuary that had stained glass windows in it. They didn't want the stained glass windows, so they put them out in the front yard. And anybody who wanted one could come and grab it. And they were gone. Yeah. All those stained glass windows disappeared. We found a few of them. Some will later show you some of those. And when they tore it down, they said, what kind of building are we going to build? And they built something that looked like this. It's called Georgian, an English style or neo-colonial. Think about Williamsburg. It would be rectangular. It would have a steel frame, concrete, but on the outside would be brick and wood. It was twice as big as the sanctuary they tore down. In the middle of it, you can see there's a stained glass window. You can also see that window right here. Same window. There are only 100 windows like this in the world. If you want to see others, go to National Presbyterian Church in Washington or to West Point Military Academy. It's the only window like it in the South. The outside is covered with 24-karat gold. The glass is an inch thick. There's no paint. It's just the color of the glass. And on the outside, when you walk in, there's Jesus in gold with his arms open, saying, come in. If you look carefully, there's a person with crutches, a child, an older person, a student with a book. The window says, everybody may come to this space. And you're here. And when you leave, if you look at the window when you leave, it's Jesus saying, go serve the world. Go serve. There are little boats in the corners. Go and tell other people what you learned about me in this place. The person who helped design this was a young architect in town named George Griffin. George was helped by another architect named Harold Wagner, who built more churches in this country than anybody else, ever. They worked together. They planned this sanctuary. They, instead of having a pulpit in the middle, they moved the pulpit over here. They put in the middle a table to focus on Jesus, on the meal that Jesus gave to us. Put a lectern over there. Move the choir over to the side. We didn't want to look at your faces all the time. In the middle, they put a gold cross that's covered in gold leaf. That cross is made out of very light wood. I held it once. You can hold it very easily. It does not weigh very much. But then it has on the sides some animals. Now, if you go to Europe, what's on this back wall is different. If you go to England, it's usually words. The Lord's Prayer, the Ten Commandments. If you go to France, there are flowers. But here, carved out of wood, are 6 different symbols. You see them every week. What are they? Look at the top right. That's a pelican. That pelican is plucking her breast to get blood to give to her children. That reminds us that Jesus gave his blood for us. The next one coming down is a rooster. On the night Jesus was arrested, before he was crucified, the cock crowed 3 times. Down below it, on the bottom right, is a phoenix that comes back to life after it dies. Resurrection. The next one on the bottom is a peacock. Peacocks have beautiful feathers. That's a sign that people will live in beauty, all of creation. The next one is an eagle. An eagle is a sign of the Gospel of John, the most important of our 4 Gospels. Now here's a tricky question. What's at the top left? You recognize that animal? It's half lion, half eagle. Half lion, half eagle. Does that ever appear in the Bible? No. What is it called? A griffin. Who designed this place? I'm sure that just happened to take place, that George Clifton left his signature for us to see every week. And we are blessed by this space. And what you'll find in this place is we have a baptismal font where we put water, where we baptize. I know I baptized you, but there are many I baptized you. Yes, I did. And this is a special place. We also sometimes use this shell. I bought this shell in Myrtle Beach. It's now an endangered species and illegal to buy and sell. So hang on to that. We have this table here. Come up here and look at the stone. Come on the back side. You can see it better. Here you go, you can come this way. Look at this piece of stone. That comes from Brazil. Brazil, and it weighs 1,400 pounds. It had to be cut in 2 places for 8 men to lift up to put here. It's so heavy. It's not going anywhere. On the table, there are 4 candles. 2 on one side, 2 on the other. Jesus, human and divine. Jesus, human and divine. And where's the Christ candle? Oh, right behind me. Which reminds us that Jesus is the light of the world. Sometimes we have communion. We use different cups. This is our newest one, given by a family of church, pottery. This was one that was used when the church first opened, made out of pewter. This is one made out of wood from Costa Rica. We helped build a church in Costa Rica, and the church gave us 4 of these to say thank you. This one is carved out of olive wood in Bethlehem. And we asked for 4 of these to be carved for this church. So neat. The Bible. This is a copy of a Bible called the St. John's Bible. It was the first Bible written by hand in 300 years. This is a photograph of it. There are only 100 books like this in the world. We own one of these. And then art that goes with it. So you go through the book and you see how they wrote, you see the art. What's neat, come back on this side, I want to show you this. We don't pay attention, but it's here. Look at this. Look at this fabric. See that fabric? Where have you seen that before? Pews. You sit on this every week. A woman in the church who was an artist said, I want to have something special to sit on. And there are 8 symbols: a butterfly, a fish, the symbol of United Methodist Church, bread and grapes. Her husband happened to be the president of Cannon Mills. And she said, I want you to weave a special fabric. And they shut down Plant 6, which we now call Gibson Mill, did special looms, used special cotton, wove this fabric, and then they destroyed the looms. This is the only fabric like it in the world. And you sit on it every week. Come back down here. Yeah, that's fine. Around this table, you may have noticed, there's padding, and this is needlepoint. This is done out of wool. We had 38 women who spent 15 months sewing this. They say it has 2.5 million stitches. I have not counted them all. If we take care of these will last at least 500 years, well beyond any of us. And Tim and Fred Foley, who are here, were the first persons married in this place. I believe this was finished, and they knelt on this at their wedding. But as you walk around, you'll see all these different symbols, all these different things. That's part of what we have. 8 years ago, 10 years ago, we decided we need to do some things to make this place look even better. We replaced the windows. There are 90 windows in this place. We replaced all the lighting fixtures and the light bulbs. There are 950 light bulbs in this place. We cut our energy use by 20%. We are an energy efficient church. But then we said some things have got to change. The carpet needed to be done. Originally, there were members of the committee who wanted the carpet to be blue. But a woman on the committee said, what's the color of grass? Green. She said, if God made grass green, we need green carpet. And so we have green carpet. We decided we would put wood up here. We're sitting on mahogany wood. We took out 6 of our pews. The pews came closer this way, but we decided we needed some more space. And people now are bigger than they were in 1974. And so you don't notice this, but there's 4 extra inches between each of the pews to make it easier to get in and out. We put that stone there. The pew cushions were beginning to wear out. We were up in the attic one day and found this big roll, and it was the leftovers from that. And we had enough leftovers to recover the pews. Last time, but this will be the last time we ever do that. Jim Ewing, whose funeral we celebrated here, said, "What color are we going to paint this place?" And we decided to go with extra white. There are hundreds of whites, I did not know. But it took 175 gallons of paint to paint this space. And we had a popcorn ceiling, which drove some people nuts, and so we got rid of that. Over and over again, we try to make this place special. There are all sorts of things. Let me show you a couple more things. This is carved out of wood. Can you read that? Give us this day our daily bread. Come down here. Try not to step on anybody. This is one Cindy Brett made for us. This is a banner that's found in John Wesley's chapel in London. And I took a picture of it, and she made a copy of this. But look underneath that. Can you read that? Thy lamp unto thy feet, covered in gold. Let's go back over here. Yeah. This one's really hard to read. But it says, he who liveth in love liveth in God. He who liveth in love liveth in God. But feel this, all of this molding in this place is wood. Can you imagine replacing that much molding? Here's a neat thing. This is something that came out of my father's office. It came from the man who convinced him to be a minister. Where are the speakers in this place? No, those are microphones. Where are speakers? So everybody can hear. Nope. It's right behind you. This is a speaker. It has in each of these 26 different speakers aimed at different places here, all of which are timed to hit at exactly the same time, so that there's no echo in here. And for those of you who have hearing aids, underneath the flooring, there's a thing called T-coil, telephone coil. I have hearing aids. I can punch this little button, and I can hear the sound even more clearly than when it comes through the microphones, and I can turn it up and down. Those are some of the things here. Let me show you the biggest thing in this, most expensive thing in this room that you have never seen. What is it? The organ. Susan's going to tell you. Our old organ had been built in Quebec. We decided we needed a new organ.
So one of the really fascinating things about the organ is while all the keyboards are here, the pipes are actually up there on both sides behind all of those gray panels. That's where all the pipes are. Now I'm going to show you a couple of the pipes. We have different kinds of pipes. It's like having a box of crayons. How many of you have like a box of 64 crayons? You know, so you probably have a couple reds. So we have different flutes, and this is what we call a chimney flute. Can you see how there's a chimney on the pipe? And if we hear the chimney flute, it sounds like this. Now we have another flute, and then another flute. So we have a lot of colors of flutes. Then we have different trumpets, and you're going to hear this one. It's pretty loud right behind us. And then we have another trumpet over by the choir. Choir, get ready. Pretty cool. So we have a couple different trumpets. All right, a couple different trumpets. Then we have different strings. So listen here. And then we have some strings over by the choir. Now, when we sing, when you guys sing, I'm playing the organ, and there's 3 sets of keyboards and feet keyboards. So sometimes the feet go in one direction, the hands go in a different direction, but on purpose. And so when we're singing, we use what's called the diapason. Say that with me. Diapason. And that's the core of the organ. So I use these pipes, and I build them as we sing louder and louder. You'll notice I'll keep adding things in the last verse. It gets louder and louder. Then down there I'll add some loud stuff to the feet. The feet pipes are behind the reredos. If you walk over there and look up, you'll see the pedal pipes. All right? Can you see them up there? All right, so there's one other thing that's up there, and it's called the Zimbelstern. All right, so stay here. They're huge up there. You're right, they're 16 feet tall. That's pretty tall. Yeah, they're really tall. Okay, one last thing I'm going to show you. Up there is a special thing called a Zimbelstern, and it's a little box of bells, and they spin around. Okay, now step back because I need to sit here, and I'm going to play the Zimbelstern for you. Okay? There's a little button, you see there, whoops, down there by my feet, and I have to push it with my foot. And if you step back there, you might see it, but you can hear it. All right. So then it goes off. So every Sunday, when you guys are singing, or when you walk in and we're doing your acolyting, when you're leaving, you get to hear all these different colors. It's really neat. There's about 3,000 or so pipes. Yeah, have a seat, guys. Then when we did the construction back 8 years ago, we took all of the pipes out, and they fixed them, and they cleaned them up, and there's some pipes there if you want to touch some of the pipes. And then they put them all back in one by one. We had to do a little bucket brigade to get them up. So we have, let me show you, we have wooden pipes that look like this. These are wooden, they look like a box. And then we have metal pipes that look like this. And then we have, that one's a reed pipe, and that sounds, you'll notice it looks like an ice cream cone, and it sounds like a loud trumpet. So the pipes are all back up there behind the panels. All right, Andy. All right, pretty neat, isn't it? That's just for tuning it. But if you blow on it, yeah, sorry. What was you going to say? I'm sorry.